right. On Fridays, this guy comes through. He knows it all. I mean, the comic book movies, the Marvel universe, the DC universe, some obscure Korean film that he's found at a festival. He is amazing. I don't know how he takes in all the content. A great writer, a great mind on media. How about it for a man who comes and goes on a rainbow? He is the magnificent Michael Snyder, the culture blaster. What's up, Michael?
Oh, Mark, you demean yourself with your petty vendetta against me, your desire to make me uneasy, uncomfortable, maybe even unwilling to, deliver the goods on a Friday. I could never be like that. I could never. But I understand this is the nature of things. And hey, after all, it's Friday the 13th. What else could I expect? I mean,
what?
Luck, good and bad, is kind of tricky and even a bit subjective. By the way, I'm back at my place in San Francisco for a bit. And though I love the city, I'm not sure whether being back is a good luck thing or a bad luck thing, considering all the San Francisco bashing being done by the right wing. I do want to deliver a public service message about Friday the 13th. If a black cat crosses your path today, please don't eat it. That's all. I just wanted to get that out there.
Wow. Look at you with a special...
They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
Yeah, I really do. I want to grace you with this word from nutritionist Liz. She is the official nutritionist of this show. And she says, for Michael Snyder, she contributes $5 to the show today. And she says, Michael Snyder always answers my IG messages and concepts of humor, even a dad joke, she says. Also for Mark's hair, my hair, you can't see it probably, but it's a little too vertical today. Anyway, Michael, you brought nutritionist Liz in with some money. So thank you for that. And
big
a big
shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm flattered and honored. Thanks, Liz. I think it's important that we get down to business, considering all the time already frittered away.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
Let's get into
it. All right.
Come on, let's get into it. By the way, hi, Kim, wherever you are. I know you're out there. I know
Kim
you're paying attention.
She's very tough. She's very tough. Kim is managing the hate room, or chat room as it's often called. She's in the lifeguard chair.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah, so.
Okay, so it is Friday the 13th, which is a scary day, and I do think that we should lead with a movie that has horror elements in it. There seems to be one a week, and I actually wrote a column about it that's currently in the Voice of San Francisco called Scare and Scare Alike. But I would actually suggest that people check that out if they can at thevoicesf.org. But let's talk about Speak No Evil. So a couple years ago, I saw a movie by Danish filmmaker Christian Tafdrup. It's one of those Danish names, Tafdrup. And the movie was called Speak No Evil. And I knew nothing about it prior to watching it. And it turned out to be a terrifying examination of the awful yet believable events that occur after two families, one Danish and the other Dutch, meet while on vacation. So this utterly chilling 2022 movie filled me with such dread that after it was over, I needed to calm down. So I went to YouTube and watched an old episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I just had to do something because I was that rattled by the film. Okay, so now Speak No Evil has been remade as an Anglo-American production with a family of three from the UK and a family of three from the US meeting during a sunny Mediterranean holiday. So the British dad and mom are played by James McAvoy, Professor X himself from, X-Men First Class and such, and Irish actress Eileen Franciosi, who was wonderful in God's Creatures and stop motion. She's a terrific actress. And the characters have a mute prepubescent son. The American dad and mom, played by Scoot McNair and Mackenzie Davis, have kind of a nervous prepubescent daughter. So in a bit of a switch, the Brits are aggressively jovial, while the Yanks are reserved and polite. I mean, it's kind of like turning our, stereotypes on their heads, but it works. After the vacation ends, the Americans return to London, where the parents had moved for work, and in short order, the Brits invite them for a weekend getaway at their remote country home, and the fun begins. I was a little uneasy uh, when I saw the trailer for the remake, since it appears to reveal a couple significant aspects of the characters and the plot that made my skin crawl when I saw the Danish version of this thing. And even the poster suggests that maybe the McAvoy character isn't the nicest guy on the block. But in any event, it turns out that the new Speak No Evil also changes important elements of the third act of the original, and not necessarily for the better. That said, Black Mirror veteran James Watkins wrote and directed the remake, and it's a sturdy suspense movie, even if it sort of cops out on the brutally effective way the original plays out. Plus, McAvoy is compelling throughout, and he is well supported by Franciosi, McNair, and Davis. And plus, the kid actors, especially Alex West Leffler as the American daughter, are very, very good. So, if you haven't seen the original, I recommend seeing it, unless you're afraid of subtitles. Yeah, some of it's in English. And if that's the case, see the new one. And if you have seen the Danish version, you might be let down by the new one, although it's not bad at all on its own terms. Speak No Evil in theaters right now.
Very interesting review, because you sort of really liked the first one and sort of liked the second one. And so if you haven't seen the first one, you're not comparing the second one to the first one, and as a result, you end up with even a more positive view of the second one. Would that be a way to summarize it?
That's fair. I just feel like the first one is really one of the best horror movies I've ever seen, and it's not gory, really. It's just
Psychological horror.
To the max. And it's part of that genre that has developed over the past 10 years or so, or at least has been labeled, called elevated horror. And some of those movies are grisly, but the original Speak No Evil is not. And again, if you like this sort of film and you haven't seen the first, and you don't want to seek it out, watch the new one. I think you'll be entertained, and that surge of adrenaline when things go wrong on the big screen, that kind of is an upper in a way. You'll get plenty of that.
Kim?
It's fascinating to me that, Michael, you can say you liked a movie when admittedly you had to go find a way to soothe yourself afterward. Like, it was so disturbing to you that you had to go watch children's programming. How can you like a movie that seeps into your psyche this way?
Yeah, Michael.
Hey,
Yeah.
talk to Nikki Maduro about it. She'll explain the charge you get. Again, it's an adrenaline rush. The column is basically about how horror movies appeal to us, and the why and the how. And I do believe that little jolt that people get, let's say a scare, fear, and a thrill are not that far removed. It's kind of like going on a roller coaster, Kim. And I don't want to overstate the case. I really didn't watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I just came up with that for effect. So,
hey, by the way, Cassandra says in the chat, literally using the words that you've used. I mean, but she used them before you used them. It's the emotional roller coaster, Kim. She described it the same way.
Her name is Cassandra. Of course, she predicted what I was going to say.
Big shout out.
Okay, let's go to an action film. Okay, the bullet-headed former wrestler turned action star Dave Bautista has won so many fans in projects like Guardians of the Galaxy, where he plays Drax the Destroyer. He's like a funny, and violent and heroic character in those movies. And now he's starring in a tailor-made action comedy vehicle, The Killer's Game. And it's more action and violence than comedy, but he's actually given a love story as part of the plot. And that's sort of comedic in a way, isn't it? He's a stretch as a romantic lead. Let's put it that way. But pairing him with the lithe, athletic Sophia Boutella, who was an assassin herself in Kingsman, and here as a ballerina that he adores, almost works. It almost makes it work. Anyway, the situation is as such. High-end assassin Joe Flood, played, of course, by Batista, gets diagnosed with a terminal disease, so he decides to choose his method of suicide, taking out a hit on himself. So he goes to, some hotshot, hitman broker and says, here's all this money, hire someone efficient, and let's get it done. And unfortunately, since the contract is up for the highest bidder, every killer comes out of the woodwork and starts going after him. And rather than just accept his death, he learns that his girlfriend is caught in the crossfire. He doesn't want her to be hurt, so he goes on the offensive, and he's going to take care of those who are coming after him and thus endangering the girl. So, seeing him squeezed into a tuxedo in one kind of James Bondian part is kind of comical. Okay. Do you know who Broderick Crawford is? The burly guy that starred on Highway Patrol on TV back in the black and white days. This
Sure,
is
years
like
ago.
it's like imagining Broderick Crawford as a leading man. It's kind of nuts in that regard. But
Really? He's kind of handsome in his own way. He's a big dude, no?
well, yeah, I mean, he's certainly. If you're talking about Batista, he's incredibly likable.
That's what I'm
But
talking about, yeah.
I gotta say, it's action sequences are well directed by J.J. Perry. The scripts, the script is not really great, and ultimately, it just exists to watch Dave Batista take out these people who are coming after him. And so it's a little flimsy in that regard. But you know that phrase, chewing gum for the mind, right? Well,
Yeah, sure. So, in that spirit, let me just understand something from a plot standpoint. He wants to off himself. He sets
yeah,
in motion the mechanism to off himself, then
yes.
realizing, wait, his girlfriend or girlfriend to
So
be, whatever it is, might be involved in, might be in some jeopardy. He undoes or tries to undo something that he's already set in motion. Is that basically it?
Yes, he does. And there's also another plot point that motivates him to try to stop what's going on. There's all these sort of stereotypical types of assassins, various nationalities and attitudes, and there's a parade of them. It's very cartoonish in that regard. I mean, I was grudgingly entertained. There's another pull quote for your poster. I was grudgingly entertained. Michael Snyder, The Mark Thompson Show.
What?
But among the killers, by the way, Terry Crews is pretty entertaining. Palm Clementif, also from Guardians of the Galaxy, she plays Mantis, is in it. And his handler broker is played by Ben Kingsley. And Ben is never going to give a bad performance, so he's rather charming. And just for you, sci-fi and genre fans, Alex Kingston, River Song from the Doctor Who series, and also a veteran of ER, plays Kingsley's wife. And it's fun watching while it's happening, but there's really nothing to it.
Wow. Okay. Killer's Game, and that's in theaters. The Killer's
Yes,
Game.
it is.
All right.
Okay, let's move on to something a little more down to earth and yet a little fantastical. And I know you're not going to like this. I don't want this to jeopardize your earnings, Mark, but the movie is called My Old Ass. And it is a kind of a comedy. It's like a dramedy, and it's about a young girl, a young Canadian girl, well played by Maisie Stella, who's a fresh face. I've never seen her before. She plays Elliot, and she's pansexual and having a great time and about to go off to college. And she's partying with her girlfriends in kind of little I guess a lakeside getaway, and they go on a little kind of camping trip and all take mushrooms, she and her two girlfriends. And while on mushrooms, she meets her older self, played by Aubrey Plaza. Now, whether this is a hallucination or a manifestation of the mushrooms, or her frazzled mental state at the idea of her life changing on a university level, it's not really clear. So the rules that are at play here are fuzzy, but the performances are really lovely. And in the context of the story, her older self warns her against getting involved with a guy. And of course, she meets the guy shortly thereafter. The guy is working on her father's cranberry farm up there in Canada, and they start kind of hanging out, and she is drawn to him. And this could be good or good. It might be bad, but we do know that Aubrey Plaza is always reliable as a comedic actress. This Maisie Stella is pretty damn wonderful, and it's got a sweetness to it and a humanity to it. It's the absolute antithesis of these other two movies in that regard. It's directed and written by Megan Park, who is a pretty accomplished young actress. And as this sort of stuff goes, it's okay. I just had a little problem with some of the, internal logic of the story. And also, we really don't see enough Aubrey Plaza, but there's a charm to it. I think, Kim, this is a movie I think you'd really enjoy, not only because it's woman centric, but because it has that kind of lightness and sweetness and humanity. It is, in fact, in theaters.
Now, when you say that, you think because Kim has that, or because Kim lacks that, and so she might appreciate it?
Must you turn this around and make me the bad guy?
I'm just saying.
Kim, how are you?
All right.
Are you trying to say that I have an old ass? Is that what you're trying to say? I blame you.
You're kind and good-hearted. We can't see your ass, so I can't really weigh in on it.
Wow. Really?
Anyway,
I think that's sweet that you've called out Kim as someone who would enjoy the charm and warmth of this movie.
Yeah.
Well, right, because she strikes me as someone who has a big heart and also cares for other people. And we see this young woman's struggle and blossoming, and that stuff I think would resonate with Kim and many, many others. So it is in select theaters, and
Is this a movie that you could show a teenage girl, or is this
absolutely? Does she know what the word ass means?
I think so.
Okay, it's kind of
they get really high on mushrooms. Remember, that's apparently a plot point early on. So just
why weed smokers at?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Honestly, Kim, you just have to do a brief parental guidance about the mushrooms, and then you can sit down and watch this thing.
Stay at home and get baked.
I believe it's going to play well on video. So even if you can't make it to one of the select theaters where it's playing this weekend, it will soon be available elsewhere.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you have it. So that's the
No.
Well, Simon says no, but Snyder says yes. What would you like to get to next? Oh, great Culture Blaster.
Let's wrap up with one final feature film cover. And that would be the 4:30 movie, which is a teen rom-com, I guess with echoes of the John Hughes sorts of movies, but it's the work of writer-director Kevin Smith, who we all know from Clerks, and I guess he did Mallrats. He's done a number of films, and he's well loved by many for playing Silent Bob. Or is that what?
Sure.
Yeah, the Jay and Silent Bob team with Jason Mewes, and he's even shown up recently in that '90s show as Silent Bob, and so he's kind of working that. But he is a writer-director, and he has his little mini empire, and he seems to work well with young actors. And this is a very, very personal movie, from all I can tell. It's about a kid growing up, enamored of movies and wanting to be a writer, and maybe not even thinking about being a director as yet. And he is smitten with a local girl, and he wants to take her to a matinee along with his two idiot buddies. He has been crushing on this girl for a year, and he decides he's going to make the big leap, and they make a date to see the movie. And this is all about the misadventures of the four of them at the movie theater that afternoon into the evening. And, it's set in 1986, so there are a couple needle drops that are very much of the era. These three 16-year-old buddies they wear on you a little bit. There's something kind of familiar and trite and lowbrow about some of what goes on. There are a few jokes, that work, and the kids have a certain measure of charm, but I don't know. It's a bit much, and I do know that the biographical aspects of this coming of age story are true to Kevin Smith's experience, and he does lean on some talented friends in supporting roles. Ken Jeong he basically steals the film as the theater manager who basically can't stand the kids, and the young actors who play the trio of best buddies and the object of one of their affections. They're all quite good. Austin Zajur, Nick Carrillo, and I don't know. They're good. But what really keeps the movie interesting for me is the parade of cameos that include Diedrich Bader as a kind of a sci-fi hero on one of the movie trailers they're watching. And in fact, I'll tell you what, the movie trailers seem so much more interesting than the story ultimately, that I was like, Kevin Smith, why don't you make one of these idiot movies? Jason Biggs is in this thing. Rosario Dawson, Rachel Dratch plays one of the mothers of the teens. You also get Jason Lee, Justin Long, and obviously, of course, Jason Mewes has to show up. And Kate Micucci plays the mother of the girl. And if you like Kate Micucci, she does her thing. There was so little to it. It's so evanescent. It's almost disappeared from my memory, and I watched it yesterday.
Wow. So on the one hand, it's deeply personal for Kevin Smith, but it evaporates overnight for you.
Yeah, I mean, you got Adam Pally, Sam Richardson, Genesis Rodriguez. He pulls out the stops and brings in some talented people for cameos, and they get their moments, and their moments are, oh, it's that person, and that was kind of amusing, but it didn't amount to very much. It doesn't have the big-hearted, staying power of a John Hughes movie when he was at his best. But I
They
know it's that
credit on
kind
the
of film.
poster music by Bear McCreary. I wonder why Bear McCreary is a film and television, produces film and television scores at high levels, but I wonder why he gets that breakout credit like that on the movie poster. Interesting.
You got me. He wrote a couple of songs that are original for the film, I guess. I don't know.
I see.
They were not particularly memorable as far as I can tell.
Michael did not like this movie particularly.
I think his theme to The Walking Dead. I'm still humming that, but I don't know about the songs in this film. I wish it was.
So that's the dud in the crew. Go ahead.
Yeah, not terrible. Yeah, again, not terrible. Michael Snyder, the Mark Thompson Show. I mean, it gets to the point that I go beyond damning with faint praise. I'm just plain damning.
Yeah. Good. Well, I know we have to wrap up. But let me just review your reviews.
By all
the
means.
4:30 movie, you just heard about it. Kevin McCreary is the
Kevin
I'm sorry,
Smith
Bear
is the creator.
McCreary is the music guy. I don't understand why he got this, but Kevin Smith is the director, writer, and the guy who put this all together. And Michael says, hey, it's a really cool cast, and it's cool to see all these people swim through this project. But he just felt as though there was no there, that it just didn't really ever land in a way that mattered to him. Wouldn't that be a fair way to put it, Culture Blaster?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's well-meaning. I don't have an axe to grind with Kevin Smith, but it just was not a great film. He's done better work that's going to basically
have more staying
linger.
power.
It's going to linger, yeah.
Tom says evanescent would be the ding word that you for the day.
That was
My
for Tom's
Old
benefit.
Ass was the project involving these two women you see on the poster, Maisie Stella and Aubrey Plaza. There's a charm to it. There is a conceit, which is the premise, meaning the premise that the younger Maisie Stella meets the older, and on this kind of hallucinogenic experience is warned about a guy that she's going to meet, an older man. And she does meet him. And,
not that much older, but yes.
Oh, I
you're
thought my old ass referred to the
No, it's actually it's the reference, the younger version thinking of the older version.
I see. Okay. Well, then in that case, strike the older thing. But anyway, he liked it. He says there's a charm to it, and he recommends it for Kim and Kim's daughter as well. The Killer's Game. Dave Bautista's foray into this world of what will be action and I guess some violence. He's a killer, you see, and he's one way or another, he's fed up with his own life. He orders a hit on himself. As a hitman, ordering a hit on himself, and then he realizes, wait, but he has a love interest who is also somehow embroiled in all of this. He has to undo the hit that he had just done.
Well, you know, he's been diagnosed with a terminal disease. He wants to go out on his own terms.
Sure.
But
there is every manner of speculation of complication is the word I was looking for.
Yes. There's a twist to things, yes.
There is a twist.
That's pure speculation.
It's pure complication is what it is. And Dave Bautista, Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, says, nah, don't quite buy him as a, leading man romantically. They kind of try a couple of James Bond slick and upscale looks to him. I don't know. Everybody loves Dave Bautista, of course, but
oh yeah, dude, I do. But I was entertained, but I just didn't think there was a lot to it. Bang, bang, bang.
Bang, bang, bang. There you have it. It is in theaters. Speak No Evil is where we started. He reminds us of a movie that I'm sure very few of us saw, which was the first Speak No Evil. He is saying that was the real Speak No Evil that you must see. But if you haven't seen that, then you won't be struck by what he was struck by, which is that this one isn't as good as the first one. But again, if you haven't seen the first one, you don't need to worry about that. And this one is okay. Again, not, going to set the world on fire, but it's okay. So Speak No Evil is in theaters. It stars James McAvoy. Well, Culture Blaster, you have really taken us around the horn today with some projects that you felt sort of meh about, but then I would say you've landed for the most part on the positive side of meh on these projects.
You're right. You're right. Particularly Speak No Evil and My Old Ass, which I thought had value for sure.
Where can people read your latest thoughts and musings, Culture Blaster?
As I said, a piece on horror movies and the proliferation of them at thevoicesf.org. And I will be back from my SF remote location next Friday here on the Mark Thompson Show, I hope.
Well, that's exciting. I'll be on the road, but we'll still be on the show, even though I'll be on the road.
Well,
so
there may be a kinder, gentler approach to my segment then. So there you go.
Well, I am feeling as though we were quite kind and quite gentle, but we will certainly bring it up in the meeting. He is Michael Snyder. You can find him at thevoicesf.org. His writings, his musings, his reflections, and the promise of a greater future. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Who can't love him? The great Culture Blaster. Thank you, Culture Blaster.
You are welcome. Go Niners. Beat the Vikes.
Yeah, right on. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.